What's up, guys? We are back for another episode of the JK Juices podcast. This is going to be a fun one. If you are dreaming of starting your juice business, you don't quite know what it looks like, we're going to walk through so many different business models we ourselves have done. And we talk to, on any given day, we talk to so many people who are operating these juice business models.
Hundreds, thousands.
So we've got lots of fun insights for you guys. Hopefully give you a good idea of what it looks like, what the potential is for your juice business, because there's so many fun outlets, so many different options. You can really take this in, and we're excited to talk about them. Fun fact, we have a fun fact. I thought it was interesting to share what age you started JK, because I don't know that we get so many new eyes onto our business. Every week there's hundreds of thousands of people. Last month we reached, just on my Instagram account, over 50,000 people. So we wanted to share our story today and kind of dive deep into the startup story of our business. So how old were you when you started JK?
I just graduated high school, so however old that is.
17, 18?
Yeah, something like that.
Crazy.
Let's see. Okay, why did we start JK? So just graduated high school. My best friend and I were looking for something fun to do in the summer. And growing up, Lauren and I had sold at the local farmer's market. We're from a very small town. And we sold at the local farmer's market a variety of things. When we were very young, wild blackberries that grew on our parents' property. And we would make tarts and all sorts of things. And then we got into gourmet cupcakes. And that, I feel like, is what started our ability to look at the market and think, what would we love but isn't being offered? And from a small town, but we like to go to big cities and eat gourmet food and gourmet cupcakes. And so we started making gourmet cupcakes with real ingredients and fun things. And I think that we were in middle school when we were doing gourmet cupcakes. And then started doing cake pops. I had a lot of fun with cake pops.
That was kind of a big deal there
for
a hot second.
Yeah, I did a lot of parties and stuff.
Parties, events.
And that was like, ooh, this is fun to create and provide and serve and make money from it. And then, did we do anything else? That was it, the cake pops. And that was in early high school days.
Yeah, so we were going to that Bluffton Farmers Market for years,
our whole life,
when we were kids. It's just such a funny backstory to see what it all kind of turned into. We would sell wild blackberries out of our grandma's truck as kids.
So then I was a senior in high school, and I was like, let's do something fun this year, to my best friend. And we were like, nobody sells juice, let's sell juice. And so we just started making juice and put it in plastic cups and froze it and took it to the farmer's market. And every year we got a little bit more official. So next year will be 10 years of doing this juice thing.
Crazy. We did want to talk about our Juice Business Masterclass. It's coming up here really fast next week.
Actually, a couple days.
Next week we start.
The latest you could enroll is October 25th, the morning of October 25th, yeah.
So all the information is linked down in the description, but this is one topic, business models, that we do go in depth on, as well as Jordan has written a How to Open a Juice Truck ebook, a How to Open a Juice Shop ebook, and we've heard countless testimonies of how amazing and helpful that resource is. A lot of people say it's just relatable. It's very approachable information, actionable information. So those are two of the ebooks that come in the masterclass, and they are amazing resources.
It's like I wrote them as not like a diary, but kind of like a storytelling. Like, here's our story, but also here's what you can do. Here's real numbers. Here's if you walked along us and saw every step we made. Book on how to do this exact thing. Start a juice shop, open a juice shop, start a juice truck. So in
addition to all that, there's layouts, there's equipment lists, there's everything you need to know, everything that we experienced as we opened.
And all that comes in the master class.
Our juice shop and juice truck.
Yep.
So let's kind of break down, let's just walk through JK's story of how we started. You started. I didn't actually come on board until
a couple years
2 years
when we started to get real official.
Yeah. But you originally started out of somebody else's commercial kitchen, and this is one of the main things we recommend to our new startups. Looking for a kitchen that's already licensed and ready to roll, that you can rent from them and use their space to make juice. And you could dive more into that.
So technically it's not, in most counties, it's not legal to make juice at home. Juice is not considered under the cottage food laws in most areas. You're going to want to contact your health department and just generally say, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Can you give me information on it? So you would email them and say, I want to start a juice business. Can I make juice at home? Can I bottle it? Can I take it to farmers markets? Here's what I'm kind of thinking. And just, say, this is what I'm thinking. Tell me what you think. And usually our conversations with health departments have always been so kind. They're very willing to give you all the information they have. And they more get angry when you're deliberately breaking the rules. They're definitely not angry when you're like, here's my idea, can I do this? They're actually excited about that because you're searching for more information on how to safely make juice.
Yeah, for sure. They care about keeping the community safe, and if you're trying to pull one over on them, it's obviously not going to be a good start to that relationship.
Yes.
And take into account this is going to be a long-standing relationship.
Yes, we've worked with our same health department guy for the last 5 years, and before that it was the same lady for a while too. So you work with them a lot, right? So most places you can't make juice at home in your home kitchen. Some might allow it, but most won't. And then your next step is just finding a commercial kitchen that you can use. So we had a close relationship with this local popcorn shop that had an overflow kitchen. They had kind of a secondary kitchen that they only used during their super busy season. And so we contacted the health department, asked if we could use that kitchen. They said yes, absolutely. And so we rented that kitchen space from them and made our juice there, and then took it to farmers markets. So was our first phase. And it's so important when you hear somebody else's story that you take it with a grain of salt, kind of, because every health department is going to be different. Yeah, every person you deal with is going to have a different opinion, and it can vary greatly. I'm not for sure it will, but it can vary greatly. And this can be frustrating because you talk to one person and they're like, meh, then you talk to the next person and they're like, meh. But just realize you're in the communication. Any business you start, you're in the business of people, and so it's a communication thing.
Yeah, for sure. And they can tell you one thing one week and come back and tell you a whole different thing the next week.
Which is nice to keep a paper
trail.
Keep things in written form almost. Like email's so great for that because you can be like, hey, but last week you told me this, or last year you said this. Here's the email. So, anyways,
in your startup phase, there's just a lot of figuring stuff out, navigating. I remember when we were just getting up and running, we would sit on that mom's porch and just talk for hours and hours and hours.
It was just a lot of brainstorming and figuring out your game plan.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
what was your rent for the popcorn shop?
Oh, $1. That's a great thing about a small startup, is usually fellow business entrepreneurs want to see you succeed. They understand. A popcorn shop isn't our competition. They wanted to see us grow and give into the community, another business for the community to thrive. And so they weren't looking to make any money from us. They just were hoping to see us succeed. And so always great to seek local and to have great relationships, and people will help you. They will.
Yeah, for sure. So first thing, I would probably, if we were just getting started again, we'd probably reach out to our health department and see what the cottage food laws were to see if we could do something kind of out of our own kitchen.
If we wanted to. I don't think we would want to.
It is nice to have a designated space to work. The only con, and you can speak to this, is when you have to go to a kitchen, whether it's you're renting a commercial kitchen or it's a commissary kitchen, you often have to carry your equipment with you.
Yeah, every kitchen space is going to be different. If you can find one where you can leave your equipment and don't have to, that's wonderful. And I hear a lot of commissary kitchens are filthy, dirty, and gross, and a lot of people don't like to produce juice in those kitchens. Not all, but a lot of them. So if you can find just a local small business who closes at 2 p.m. and you go in and you use their kitchen from 2 p.m. to 9 or something like that, we find that a lot of people have more success with that. Personal one-on-one relationship rather than a more traditional commercial shared kitchen space. So if I was just starting, I would do one of two things. I would either build a commercial kitchen in my home, which is what a lot of people do, or
in your home or
in my home.
I know you've talked, this was a huge hit on YouTube. You've talked about building a shed in your backyard.
One of those options, yeah. So
commercial space on the property you already have.
On the property, yeah. People do it in their basement, in their garage, in a shed, in an extra room, but they build an actual commercial kitchen that's separate from their home kitchen. And that's
by
legal.
The health department.
Yep. And the health department comes in and inspects it, and it's fully legal.
Yeah. So why this is such a big win in the startup phase is rent is going to be one of your biggest monthly reoccurring expenses. So if you can cut that out.
Kind of.
It's one of them.
It's one of them. Usually rent is 6 to 6 to 10% of gross sales, but rent is one of the scariest things, because it's a monthly commitment. It's a fixed expense. So no matter what your sales are, you always have to make it. Once you get operating now, like we're operating, rent is nothing. It's nothing on our expense sheet. But when you're first starting, it is your scariest because it's a fixed one,
It's a commitment that you're committing to, but you might not know the production, what your juice bar can handle at that given moment. So we've got somebody, one of our collective members, just killing it with this model, this rented model. She is working out of somebody else's kitchen, just like we mentioned, for free, netting $15K a month without any overhead. She's just crushing it on a Goodnature mini. It's such an easy hack that can get you safely into producing, legally producing good quality juice. And if you kind of take off and you hit it off with structure it with a business that might also benefit you, or there's a good relationship there, it might be worth sticking around and kind of seeing where the relationship goes, but you can crush it and quickly reinvest that money that you would otherwise be spending on rent, or just gives you some more leeway there in the beginning to kind of have fun. And she has since bought a mobile. She's bought her X1. She's just killing it. She's killing it. How many years were you producing in the popcorn kitchen and going to market?
2 years popcorn kitchen, 3 years on the truck, and now almost 5 years in the shop.
Let's go. So a couple years there in the beginning, just seeing if this was kind of a hit at the market, and you were freezing also. Did you put any thought into that?
Let me think for a minute.
Or did you just kind of this is the easiest way for me to get my product safely to the market? This is a long time ago. What was I doing 10 years ago?
Well, because I can remember the first couple.
I can see the pictures of the frozen juice.
I do not have a great memory, y'all. So our actual first year, we froze them. We made them in the kitchen. We put them in plastic cups just like this with lids and a hole, and we froze them just like this. And my thought behind this was somebody can come. This was before bottled cold pressed juice was really a thing. This was 10 years ago. So juice was really getting...
It was so new.
Like cold pressed juice was really kind of becoming a little bit more mainstream, but not even really. I'll give the perfect example. Anyways, I'll get to that for a minute. But my thought was when you go to a fresh juice bar, they make it fresh and they put it in a plastic cup with a straw. So I wanted to replicate that experience. So the thought was juice it, put it in there, put a lid on, and I found lids that the straw part had a piece of plastic over it. So you had to take the piece of plastic off to put the straw in. And so customers came, and if they came right away, it was fully frozen. They would thaw it at home or whatever. But as the market went on, they started to thaw, and it was like a slushy, and then it was like a juice. And they would just grab a straw. But then the second year I bottled them, and I didn't freeze them.
No.
I juiced them the day before, and I took them not frozen, and it was centrifugal juice. And so remember, this was 9 years ago, and so cold pressed juice, definitely there were no countertop small cold pressed juicers. So centrifugal juice in a bottle, and then we did made to order juice on the truck with a centrifugal juicer. Yep. And that was fun. I liked that. That was an adventure, making made to order juice and then put it in a cup. That was the first year. Yeah, so that was when you joined.
Yeah, Jordan bought this ice cream truck, and we just gutted it and renovated it as a family. Had it approved by the health department, and we would go to markets, juice. We would show up a couple hours early, juice there on site, and serve what we could, what we had room for,
but those were all made to order. But also in regards to the truck, nobody in Ohio had done a juice truck. And so when I contacted the health department, and they were like, juice? Juice is interesting. Let me talk to the Ohio Department of Ag. And then he's like, but on a truck. They didn't know what to do.
They had no idea what to do.
Probably talked to the State Department of Ag, who was talking to the FDA, who was it was this big thing. And they're like, we've never heard of juice on a truck. And it was so confusing because trucks, mobile units have their own rules, but then juice has their own rules too because it's highly perishable. So they couldn't figure out. What I was saying was I wanted to make the juice at home, not at home. My truck was plugged into my home, shore power. So my truck is parked at home. I wanted to make the juice there and then drive to the farmer's market and sell the juice. And the conclusion was like, you can't transport juice, raw cold pressed juice has to be sold where it was made, and blah, 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 blah. And now the rules have developed where you can transport it to your own locations, right? Like we can make our JK juices here, and we can take it and sell it at JK Juice's farmers market pop-up. Like we're allowed to transfer our juice to another facility owned by us. But anyways, it was just this whole thing, and that goes to show how, 9 years ago, juice was still pretty darn new.
Yeah, for sure.
There were no juice trucks. Like the Ohio State Department of Ag didn't know what to do with them.
Yeah. I remember the moment, there was like a week where they said, yes, you can make it at home, plugged into your home.
Yes.
And take it, drive it
Yes.
to the market. And then there was like, a few days later, they were like, actually, no, you have to make it on site.
Well, what they told me was, yes, my proposed business plan is good, and we started to build the truck, and we bought equipment, and we bought a juicer, and we bought all that, and then they're like, actually, you can't do that. You're going to have to blah, 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 blah. And it just changed everything. It changed how our business model was set up, how our truck layout was, the equipment we were using, the generator size. It was like, well, now we got to rethink this a little bit because we have to take it.
Yeah.
So it was like a month or two later because they said yes. I'm like, great, I'm going to build my truck. And then it was like, hey, so following up, this is where we're at. And then they were like, no.
So we had to buy a new juicer that didn't take so much power.
Yeah, that was kind of related to it, kind of not.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. It was like,
So we were using the Zumex, big centrifugal juicer.
no, the NutriFaster.
That's the original one we had.
That was the big one.
The heavy one.
The heavy one.
That
and
you
it was
see in
too
Whole
powerful.
Foods.
Yeah.
And then you had to sell that, and you had to buy a new
Because our
Zumex.
generator couldn't power it. So we needed to find a commercial juicer that wasn't as powerful. The Zumex.
So that was the first year that we started. There's so much to this. The first year that we started to come to Findlay and kind of start to experience the vibes here in Findlay. We got written up in the paper, local paper.
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
fun.
that was cool.
That was a big year where we were like, yeah, we can do this. And it gave us the confidence to go cold press the following year. And we bought our CT7. And then
From Goodnature.
yeah, we started hitting like every market we could, and we just quickly outgrew that truck. We couldn't keep enough produce in the truck to juice to last a shift or a market.
Yeah. And with that business model, we arrived a couple hours early because, again, we couldn't transport our juice. We couldn't make it in one location and then drive and sell it in another location. So we just arrived early, made a lot of juice, sold it, and then just kept juicing as the juice was being sold.
So we would hit up
We bought
Kroger for a while, and then demand started getting bigger. That's the first time we started wholesaling our produce from a supplier.
and they delivered to our home.
They did on a big semi, and we would just load that truck up. I mean, it was all full. There were boxes of apples everywhere. Our front lobby, we called it, was just
On the truck.
cases of apples. It was wild.
It was fun.
It was a good time. Truck life is not for the faint of heart.
Nope.
You've got to be ready to deal with the elements.
It's hard. You're hauling everything. You're lifting. I mean, everything is just working against you.
It's a big risk,
Time,
big
space.
reward.
Yeah.
So markets, from what we see in our area, you can do about a week's worth of foot traffic sales at a farmer's market event. So you're taking this like week's worth of work and you're boiling it down into like a few hours of prep right
If
before
you're at
an
a
event.
really good farmer's market.
Yeah.
Like,
It just depends on your area,
Yeah.
but that's kind of what you can expect. So you're going to be making a ton of product at once, and you're going to be going and hopefully selling at market. Weather, we always talk about weather because that's such a big indicator of what sales are going to be happening. If it's beautiful out, a market's going to be bumping. You're probably going to do a lot of sales. If it's raining, like a little like rainstorm on the radar can quickly crush a market. So you go big risk, big reward with markets, but the reward side of going to a farmer's market is so valuable. You'll often hear us say that farmers markets are like small business incubators because you are not only exposing yourself to the community, but to also all these local businesses that you quickly get tied into this like business networking. And that's how we really built our business and our brand, is showing up to those markets consistently. And people really came to know and love our product before we even opened our juice shop.
A lot of people that want to start at farmers markets, so their business model is make the juice in a commissary kitchen or a shared kitchen space and then take it to the farmers market. A lot of people find the most success starting out when they just make a few highly profitable juices and they just start testing the water. They start learning the sales conversations, learning their community, learning what their business and their brand kind of stands for. Because, we talk a lot about reps, and the more reps you can get in, aka just more sales, more conversations with your community, more getting your feet wet, because any business you start, what do they say? If they make it look easy, it's just because
they put in 10 years of work.
Yeah, exactly. And so a good business owner who's like, wow, you can just sell a lot, you know your business, you know how to talk to people, they just got a lot of reps, they've just put in the work, and now it looks easy. So we always recommend farmers markets can be really intimidating and scary. So just starting slow, know your profit margins, take highly profitable juices so you can get traction with your business and cash flow, and just start having those conversations. Start talking to the community. Because there's nowhere, there are very few places where you can get like-minded people. Usually farmers markets are filled with health-focused people that are looking for a fresh product. So a big group of like-minded people that are in the mood to spend money. So it's not like they're at the farmers market because they're ready to buy, and you're getting all the business of everyone else. So it truly is a genius place to sell and a great place to learn how you're going to do your business, because you're going to learn the most when you actually start doing it.
Yeah.
So
it's a great rip the Band-Aid off business model. You're going to get so many reps. You're going to have people standing in line at your booth. You don't have to drive that foot traffic. You are going to the foot traffic. It's just a totally different ballgame. It's such a fun, such a fun experience.
If you are a people person and love sales, if you find you are gravitated towards conversations with people, then you're going to kill it at farmers markets, because you have to be fueled by interactions. You kind of have to be an extrovert. If you're somebody who gets really intimidated by conversations, you're going to be worn out within 30 minutes. Yeah. And so just being aware of your tendencies, and if you have a team, to send the person who is very sales, extrovert, talkative, driven to the farmers markets. And if you're an introvert, then maybe you're amazing at marketing and website design and outreach via social media, So just realizing your strengths, and maybe you're not the person to be at the market. Maybe your husband is, or your sister is, or your best employee is, or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, for sure. You want to really show up and show out at a market with your display, with your booth, with the person selling the juice itself, because you're making so many first impressions, and it's such a great place to start. You're really going to just hit it off.
That's probably why we did so good, honestly, is because I am an extrovert and I love sales conversations. I just thrive off of that. And we came with our pink flashy truck, and it's just who are these little girls so excited to sell juice? And we put on a show, kind of.
We really did.
It was a fun thing because we were excited and passionate about serving our community. And so it just goes to show, do what you love, notice and recognize your strengths, and then dial that in and hone in on that hard, and you'll shine in whatever area that is for you.
So for all those reasons, we love adding a mobile to a brick and mortar. Every time spring rolls around, we're always we need to get a mobile again, just because the power of being able to go to the people, to book events. You can really just tack on a lot of revenue to your year, having that accessibility to community events. You just did an awesome training. I watched it last night in the collective about all the events happening this time of year and ways to capitalize on that. Such a good training. If you're a collective member, go check it out.
It's called Make the Cold Call. If you want to search in the group how to find it.
So mobiles are a big upfront investment, but with the day and age that juice is in right now, not having to make it on site, you can move product more readily available. It's more accessible to a lot of us to travel with juice and to provide it. There is some like gray areas with wholesaling juice, but we've worked with quite a few people who do this very well.
So it's an FDA law that you can't wholesale unpasteurized juice. In order to, for example, sell it to a grocery store and then they sell it for you, you would have to pasteurize it in some way, whether that's heat, pressure, whatever. So how do people get around? Well, certain health departments are allowing it. Some places in California are allowing it, where you'll walk into a grocery store, you'll see raw, truly raw, unpasteurized juice that was not made by the grocery store. It was made by somebody else, and it is truly raw. So it is happening in some areas, but most areas, any juice you find in a grocery store has been pasteurized. So one thing a lot of people wonder is, well, how do I scale my business? How do I continue to distribute and offer my juice to more people when I can't legally wholesale raw juice, right? And there are some ways to get around this, and we train a lot on this in the master class and teach a lot on it.
A lot of our collective members do it.
Yes, have successfully trained a lot of people on how to do this. And basically what it comes down to is you're opening multiple storefronts. So JK Juices would have multiple retail establishments. So we would have this one here, we would have a retail establishment in a grocery store, in a yoga studio. We would have multiple facilities that are owned and licensed by us. And then we are legally allowed to distribute our raw juice to our establishments. And so there's ways to get around it, the ways that you talk with your health department and set up your contracts with these people so that it is legal. So if you want more help on that, if you're nervous about that area, we really dive deep into that with the masterclass and the JK Collective. The JK Collective, we keep talking about it, is for our graduates. It's for people that have gone through our masterclass, purchased our ebooks, gone through our course, and are looking for further mentorship. So if you're new to us or new to our resources, the place to start is the masterclass, and then you can join our other groups later on.
Yes, you get that foundation with the masterclass. You get all of our ebooks, or recipe ebooks.
We get you open.
Cost per unit calculator. And then the collective is where we walk alongside you guys and the day-to-day. We do 2 trainings a week that are, one's normally business and one's normally juicy. And you guys can submit questions and we walk with you. So it's my favorite thing ever. I love being in that group. It's our people.
It's our people. It's our graduates, right? And the masterclass, you get a 6-week group where we walk with you for 6 weeks. And we really get you established and opened. And then after those 6 weeks, if you want that further one-on-one, that's when you would join the collective.
Yeah, for sure. So most of our juice babes are doing this in really cool ways. We've seen people do it with frozen juice. It's a fun avenue to go down. Because with the juice pasteurization thing, it's a safety precaution that the juice hasn't passed through too many hands. So it can only be you as the juice bar have to be selling it for safety reasons, but there's ways you can work around it, and we would love to teach you how to do that. If you are still in the commercial, renting a commercial kitchen, going to markets, doing events, space, but you're not quite ready to open a brick and mortar, it's a great place to start. Just creating those little licensed facilities around your area, getting your name out there, and eventually you might open a brick and mortar. I don't know where I'm going with that.
I don't know where you are either.
I thought I heard somebody come in. So we are now 5 years into JK. So markets are seasonal. What?
We're 5 years into JK? No, we're almost 10 years into JK.
No, I'm just saying, I'm providing a storyline here.
Oh, way back when. Okay, I understand.
We're crushing it at farmers markets. We've really dialed in our weekly people. We've clearly seen there's a demand for this, and we're ready to level up. So in our area, markets there's some seasonality here. Our winters get very cold. We can't, we don't operate markets year round like they do in California or somewhere warmer, Texas. So there is something to think about there if you're in a colder area, knowing that your farmers markets will probably be only open for a portion of the year. And it might be time to start thinking about a juice shop. So maybe what were we looking for in a brick and mortar when we were shopping?
I go into depth in the How to Open a Juice Shop ebook, which comes in the masterclass. what you're shopping for, and to know what you need before you start shopping, or your little emotional business brain is going to take over.
Yeah, for sure.
First I was wanting the other side of town because I wanted a drive-through. I understood the importance of a drive-through in a food industry. Convenience is what sells, and I wanted a drive-through. And so we were looking at the other side of town, which is where all the more
just like
franchise chain restaurants are.
Shopping.
So I knew how important a drive-through was. That's why we were looking over there. After a couple months of looking over there, realized that everything was just too big and too developed and too expensive. And so then we were driving here downtown and we saw this space available. And after looking at other places, I also realized we needed something that didn't need a lot of work. Like it would be so helpful if the place we were moving into didn't require a huge renovation. Obviously going to save us a ton of money. And so when we found this place, at first we loved the location and how it was kind of in the hub of everything trendy. And so we were with trendy people in a trendy area. And then loved that it was small and not overwhelming. Loved that the floors needed no work. We thought the ceiling needed no work, but we ended up having to replace that. It just had good bones. Also loved that it had a full basement, so plumbing-wise, that was very easy. Anytime you have a full basement and you have to install a lot of plumbing, just your labor is going to be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, for sure.
So it kind of all checked out. We could foresee the renovation being affordable and good, and the size was perfect. And so then, as we were in kind of the negotiation phase of this space, I put the layout on SketchUp, which is like a interior design architectural program, and we started to play with layouts, and that's where we really saw the vision come to life on like, okay, this can really work. Like we can see exactly where this is going, and that's when we did it.
We did it. We did a lot of it with our own two hands. Our dad and mom and us, we all built all the furniture out front. We loaded these fridges in here, installed all the equipment.
Yeah, I mean, we had to pay a licensed contractor to do all the electrical, the plumbing, the structural, and your building department comes in and inspects, and all the departments have to sign off and inspect. And anytime you're going to do a shop reno, your health department will give you the list of who they need to sign off, and it's all of those inspection people. And it's always good to have them out before you start renovations. Have the health department out, have the building department out, I even had the Ohio Department of Ag come out, and that's when we learned that the ceiling needed replaced, which we originally didn't think we would need. But just to have everyone out so you don't have any big red flags.
Yeah, they're going to voice everything then and there and tell you what to expect.
Yeah. You don't, I mean, if you can imagine that if you're doing a big reno and you just are emailing the health department and there's something you're missing because you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you do your full reno and the health department comes out and they're like, you know what, actually you need X, Y, and Z. And for example, our ceiling had to be totally flat and wipeable. It couldn't be this weird, it was a weird texture.
It's just the tiles, those ceiling tiles you see.
Yeah, and so if that was discovered after the fact of renovations, that would have been a huge bummer, a huge expense, a huge time bump, and just not be good. A few other business models we have seen are the strictly delivery. So you make in a commissary, any commercial kitchen, and then you deliver all your orders. We see this, a lot of people do this actually, and it's those that are good at their sales and marketing techniques that win. You definitely have to be aware that
social media present.
And your website has to flow nice, and you have to be aware that the only way you're going to get sales is if you actually go out and do outreach and search for those customers and sell to them, because you're not at a farmer's market, right? But it's a great way because it's a guaranteed sale. You know, the order comes in, the money comes in, the product goes out, so there's no waste.
There's a big difference between starting your brick and mortar like we did with years of relationships already built in the community and opening your brick and mortar without that track record. So social media, this day and age, you've got to be present on social media. You've got to be strong on social media. Location tagging everything, getting in front of those eyes, really building those relationships with local businesses and people that are popular in the community. We serve a lot of business owners that also serve a lot of people. It's good connections to have. So definitely got to be strong on social media for that delivery model to work. We saw that take off in the last couple of years with the pandemic, nobody wanting to leave. I think everybody in the food industry kind of went that route.
The other way you can be super successful with that is SEO and Google searching and how to get at the top ranks. Because if somebody is sitting at home and they're like, I want a juice cleanse, they're going to search juice cleanse in Findlay, Ohio. And if you're the first one that pops up, then you're going to get a lot of orders because people are just going to go to your website. So
for sure. Other fun business models. Anytime you can be really weird and have a big pink truck, like a social media moment. We talked to somebody in Austin, Texas that had a juice bike, which is really cool. Anytime you can just kind of stand out and just be different. I feel like juice cleanses are a great way to be weird and to really market those. As it's such an experience and a big ticket item. You could do a whole business just revolving around juice cleanses.
And juice cleanses are a whole nother business within your, your out the door sales are one thing, your juice cleanse sales are another thing, right?
Those frozen models are so fun, and they're so good for new startups that they don't necessarily know how much product they can move a week, an event. There's a lot of buffer there with that frozen juice where you can just kind of stash it away, and if it doesn't sell, that's okay. You can move it in a different way.
I'll say that, a lot of people hear things like frozen juice or I'm thinking of things that are quote unquote negative. Okay, so oh my gosh, frozen juice, or oh my gosh, centrifugal juice, or oh my gosh, HPP juice. Okay, all these things. And the best way to sell, if you're in an area where, or if you're starting your business and you're maybe not hyped about your current business model, but it's a stepping stone to get where you are next. Okay, let's just go with frozen juice. How you sell that is you start focusing on what that offers, not what it lacks. Okay,
for sure.
You don't need to hate on or point out why it's better or negatively speak about other things. Yeah, you obviously wouldn't talk about what it's lacking, but you would upsell why it's good. So if frozen juice, it's like, oh man, yeah, it's not super fresh, right? Maybe this was juice last week and I froze it. But what you do get from it is you can stock your freezer and have juice ready for you whenever you want juice. You don't have to go to a juice shop and get it. And it is unpasteurized. There's nothing added to it. We're able to just freeze it, and then it preserves it. Just freezing it preserves it. That is so cool. So really talk up what it brings to the table and be excited about your current business model, knowing that it's a stepping stone to maybe where you want to go.
Yeah, for sure. You can buy in bulk with frozen juice.
Yeah, like there are so many cool things about that.
Centrifugal juice is fresh. It's made right in front of you. You can see the ingredients in front of you on the table.
Like maybe it's not cold pressed, but guess what? You can customize it. Like I can customize your juice for you right now.
There's so many good aspects to all of these business models you can really highlight. And
just what you choose to focus on.
We wanted to share our story with you guys and show you how we've organically grown over the years, all the way from a popcorn shop to a juice truck to our brick and mortar here. You can do it. You can be successful with your juice bar dreams. You just got to get out there and chase them. So we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Bye.
So 5 years.
Same.
We're going to tell our story now of how we opened our brick and mortar.
Okay.
So after, how many years on the truck?
5. No, 3 on the truck, 2 selling.
3 on the truck.
2 at farmers markets.
2 at farmers markets.
Do you want me to tell a story?
I'll get it started and then you take over when I run out of words.
Okay.